Welcome to Real with me, Zara King. I have been in business and personal development for years alongside raising my family. I started in the beauty industry in 2011, moved into network marketing and then coaching and NLP. This podcast originally began helping beauty professionals, and now I support ambitious women in a wider arena of service-based businesses. It is all about real, uncensored conversations on coming home to you and your alignment. You are done playing at a level that you know you've outgrown, and you're ready to go all in on creating more income, more freedom, mental clarity, and a business that actually works for your life. Inside this podcast, we talk real business, real life, and the hard parts most people avoid, from identity to strategy and what it actually takes to grow as women and mothers who want it all. So if you're ready to trust yourself fully and step into your next level, you're in the right place. Hello, you gorgeous human you, and welcome back to another episode. I am so excited to get into this with you today. From the title, you probably think like this is going to be a difficult one. Let me just start off by saying that it's not going to be a dramatic one. If you know me well enough, you know by now that I come at things with abundance and gratitude, and I always take the growth and the lessons, and I'm always like positive spin on absolutely everything. So although I have gone through this thing, it's actually, this episode is coming at this from a place of like, what's the word? Just love and abundance, and just like actually like reflection and stuff, because this has never happened to me in my coaching career. So what I also want to say is this podcast is called Real, and there's a reason for that, right? I can't not be transparent with people. I'm an oversharer, I'm an overgiver. I am always transparent. And when I looked into it recently, I realized that it was part of my human design, and that is why. And I'm like, it makes complete sense. Like, I'm always like this. And so having this transparency, and being as the podcast is called Real, like I can't continue recording episodes when I don't let you know what's going on, kind of thing, behind the scenes in life, in business and stuff. Anywho, so I have never experienced this in my whole 5 years of coaching. I had to cancel a client contract early recently, and it was really difficult. It went to payment dispute. It closed in my favour. I'm not going to give loads of personal, private information or anything like that, no details of that. But basically, I want to come at this with all of the lessons that I've learned, just to help you if you are going into coaching, education or mentoring, because that is what I help women do at the moment. A lot of you want to go on to online support for other people, and this is like, there are so many lessons to be learned here, and I kind of wish, I don't really wish it had happened before, but I kind of wish someone had, there's just no one to tell you what to do when things like this happen. And also, going back to the human design thing, like if I sit in a funk of avoiding change, and I'm like, my brain is telling me to change something and I can't, and I don't want to, like that is a shadow of mine, and so it's really uncomfortable. So for me, I have to do the hard things. I have to. I'm a very firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Every challenge is there for you to learn a lesson. Nothing is impossible. I'm just that firm believer that life is happening for you, not to you. I had to make this tough decision basically to cancel this client's contract early. Now, a lot of the time, right, you know, people that come to me for coaching, they want strategy. They tell me, I want this result. It always starts with a result about their business, like the monetary income, the way they see their clients, what they actually do. It might be that they've been in service for 10 years or 3 years or 5 years, and then they want to go into helping other people. It's always like the strategy that they think they want. They want X result. But then they realize when we start working together that the internal work might be what they need more than the strategy. And this is why a lot of the time I'm not somebody's first investment either. I work on identity and business strategy, and I put them together. But if the identity work isn't done first, the strategy isn't going to work. So like, you just can't do one without the other, especially with like if it's your first investment type thing. Anywho, what happens is sometimes is I have had clients in the past that don't want to implement certain things, and that's absolutely fine. I've never forced somebody to go, this is the strategy, you have to implement it. Like, it doesn't bother me if you don't want to implement something. But it is one of those things that if you don't want to implement the internal work either, that can get very problematic. And anyway, this client of mine had wins, had breakthroughs when we were working together. We did just shy of 6 months together. And it was, I want to do this. Okay, cool, let's implement this then. If you want that result, let's do this. Then it was, I can't do that, I need to take a break. And it was this constant cycle every week. There was problems, very little responsibility or solutions. Every week, more excuses. And I don't want to do this, I need a break, etc., etc. And that's fine. I was always holding space for it, always like calming it down, moving away from the negativity, whether it be about herself, the business, or other people. We kept working through it. And I love my work so much, I really do. And I will always keep showing up with love, support. But it does get draining. I'm not going to fluff this up. What you have to realize when you're helping other people is that you are not responsible for their emotional dysregulation. So anyway, after 6 months, there was a straw that broke the camel's back. And it's never happened before. And, it was just one of those things where I had to cancel this contract early. Basically, my son was off school for 2 weeks. It was put on my social media stories, and the client did see that, but we're not going to get into that. Anyway, he was home one day. We had a call. When I said at the beginning of the call, he's home, it was, I don't want to do the call. I was like, but I thought, absolutely fine, not a problem. It's normal for me, I'm a mum of 3, I work from home, I'm a coach, I could be working from a cafe if I really wanted to, or the beach, do you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm working from home, he's 7 years old, he's off school, he's on the sofa, he's not interrupting me. But she didn't want to carry on with the call, and I was like, that's absolutely fine. I will always hold space. My clients get calls rescheduled all the time. I have policies in place, like, of course, you can't just reschedule calls on the day. But in this instance, I'm like, it's fine, I don't mind, So anyway, I offered another 26 other slots, but unfortunately, she declined. And so I was in this place where I was like, okay, very formally, apologies, these are the slots, let me know. But this particular client came back twice, basically arguing, like, yeah, I get that, but. And then this client asked for a pause. And that was it. I just chose to part ways in the nicest way possible without losing my shit. I was like, I think we're ahead here. Like, we've come to a head. Anyway, so I did everything I could when it came to, like, fairness. I don't want to get into personal details, but obviously I added value where I could, I refunded where I could, etc., etc. The weirdest thing is as well, this client really would have still wanted to continue to working together, she told me, which made it even harder because I was like, no one in their right mind should be rejecting a call and then rejecting 26 other available slots. It doesn't make sense. And to come at me and sort of say, yeah. So anyway, there are a few lessons, and that's all I'm going to say on it. That's the story. So first and foremost, if you are a client and you want to work with me, when you come to me wanting a result, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to implement to get results. Okay? If you ask for something, then you have to be willing to take action. Yeah. If you're not willing to take any additional action as different to what you've been doing, you're not going to get anywhere different to where you've been. Now, if you don't want to implement, that is still fine. I have had so many clients obviously implement and get fucking great results. And then you have clients that have massive moments and shifts of internal result, and they feel like a completely different person. Did they implement all of the strategies that we did? No. And that is okay. But it's a case of there is no kind of, there's no right or wrong here. It's what your capacity allows and what your expectations are, and all of that as a client learning something. Now, I have personally been investing in coaching since over a decade, and I have seen some fucking fantastic coaches and containers, and I've learned from them, and I've learned from the best, and I strive to be the best. And so I have full clarity and full certainty in what I offer and how I support people that find it easy and how I support people that find it a little bit more difficult. And I've been there and I've done it, and like I say, this has never happened in my whole 5 years of coaching, so there had to have been like the universe was throwing me some lessons here, do you know what I mean? But I pride myself on going above and beyond, and I've been in containers where that isn't the case. Do you know what I mean? So I know the comparisons between what there is out there and stuff. And that's why as well, I really try and strive to help without being a people pleaser, because if you've been here a while, you know my thoughts on people pleasing. I will challenge your thought process, of course I will, but I really strive to help people and make them feel safe and make them feel ready. You know, that is what a coach and somebody that's certified in NLP does. That is what we do, and we love it. We love this work. So if you are a client or looking to be a client, you know, that hand holding is definitely there. The tools, the frameworks, everything you need is definitely there. And I've never had anyone that's come back at me very like sort of argumentative or anything before, and I'm sure you wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not gonna fluff it up. This podcast is called Real. So anyway, that's the lesson really. If you want to be a client with anyone, not just me, but like, let's be ready for some implementation. Let's get the stuff done. And if you're not, then own it, you know, own it, own your own emotional regulation as well. The biggest part of this, right, is if you are going into coaching or mentoring or education, like so many of my clients are right now, this is going to eventually happen to you at some point where something feels hard. And it might not be that you need to cancel a contract. It might be that somebody wants to like cancel it their end or not pay you. I've never had any payment issues and things like that. But there is going to be a time when you need to be strong enough to make a big, bold decision and trust your gut and go with it and like clear the emotional or the energetic block that is happening. So I kind of want this episode to be your permission slip to have really strong policies in place that support you and your business and your clients, your permission slip to make those bold decisions and trust your gut when needed, because your body is going to tell you far quicker than your brain is going to actually want to do anything and make change. I think from the beginning as well, it's knowing that you can ask so many questions. I mean, you can't know if somebody's ready or not, but I mean, just do your absolute utmost to not take on everyone. You know, like I say in most of the episodes that are about marketing or positioning and things like that, use polarizing opinions if you can on your social media. Like, stand out from the crowd, be something different, stand for what you actually want to stand for, because that is when you're going to attract the most aligned clients. Now, I absolutely wish this lady all the best. She was fucking incredible at what she does. It's a shame that obviously where we were at, the alignment wasn't 100%. But there's no hard feelings. There's none of that. And so, but what would have been even better is if there was like that 100% alignment, and maybe from the beginning something was slightly off. Who knows? So if you are going into coaching and mentoring, really, really be ready for that position and just making sure that you know that you're never going to help everybody, and that's okay. But now the regulation is the piece I really want to talk about, and that is going to be like the bulk of this episode, because it is hard, it's uncomfortable. No one loves anything where someone's going to be upset, okay? You don't love that. You don't want that. And so the regulation piece is something that I had to do, and I think I need to share, so that if you're in a position, it doesn't have to be like this, it could be any hard position, you know how to get through it. Because let's bear in mind, I'm at the same time this is going on, I'm waiting on a payment processor, I'm heavily pregnant, I've got 3 children, which is, you know, part and parcel of my life. I'm running a business on my own. I'm recording all my podcast episodes. I'm renovating a house. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of weight to carry. And the regulation piece is so important, and it helped me so fucking much. And it is called the Leadership Loop. And I want to walk you through it because I think it's the most valuable thing that I can give you from this whole experience. And being as it's inside my paid spaces, I think that I'll just give you this one. So step 1 is like to process first. So before you can do anything else, you have to feel into it. You can't like bypass the emotions and go straight to the solution. It doesn't work that way. Your body, you know, will hold those emotions until you actually acknowledge it. So the leadership loop takes you through 5 steps. It's catch it, check it, choose, raise, move. So you catch the thought process, you check it, and then you realize like what is actually true. Is this a story that I'm telling myself? And you sort of like deliberate and you realize what's true and what's false. Then you choose a better thought deliberately, like what would I believe to be true? What would I prefer to believe to be true? That doesn't mean that we're kind of like negating the feeling, but we're redirecting. Okay, so then we raise the bar. You know, it's kind of like what level of kind of issue is going to derail me, and do I want this to be one of them? No, we don't. And the more you do this, by the way, the more you become unshakable, and the more sort of like bigger things don't bother you, and like the smaller things you just get through them really easily and stuff. So the more you do this, the better it gets. Anyway, Then the last step is you move, you transition. Yeah, you shift into the better state, like the feeling that you actually want, the more helpful state. And this isn't like pretending the situation is fine, but you choose where to put your energy next. So that is the process that I teach my clients. And it takes you from that like being reactive and being in reaction mode and like, to, okay, cool, like I've got this, like from feeling like a bit shitty about something to I have full clarity around it now and I know how I want to proceed. And this is the foundation of everything. Literally the foundation of everything. Then what you do, so that's the first process. That's a whole process in itself, by the way. Then what I do, and what I actually did, by the way, like I'm being completely real with you. Once I processed that, it was like, right, what outcome do I want? Okay, it's like once you've processed, you have to get really clear, like not on what you don't want, but what you do want. It's very easy to be like, oh my God, I don't want this to happen, I don't want that to happen. But it's like, well, what do I want? What resolution of this? What resolution do I want on this? Like, how does it feel? What am I prepared for to happen? Because I knew that this is probably going to get a little bit like difficult and I'm going to have to, rather than being super friendly, I'm going to have to like be really professional and like kind of detach a little bit. And I was like, I need to be prepared. Yeah. So it's like, what do I want the resolution to look like? What am I prepared for? How is that going to feel? What is the actual outcome that I'm working towards here? Yeah. And you have to get specific and you have to get like, you have to write this down because you've got to be clear. Anyway, so I did that. Then it was like, okay, take radical responsibility. Radical. I preach about this. It's in my onboarding forms as well for my clients. Like radical responsibility is huge. So this is the one that most people are going to skip because it feels fucking awful and you feel like you're taking all the blame and all the rest of it. But it's not about that. It's really important actually. So what I do is I'm like, okay, what is in my control? What was in my control in the first place? What could I have done a bit differently? And it's not to beat myself up. It's not to be like, shaming myself or judging myself. I'm like, cool, let's isolate what I am responsible for so that I can change it and learn from it and do better and do differently next time. Simple. No judgment here. And then it's like, okay, cool. So what is in my control right now? From this moment onwards, to move toward this outcome that I have now defined, what is in my control? Because I can't control the external. I cannot control other people's choices and their responses and their reactions or what they decide to do, but I can control my own actions, my own energy, my own focus. I can control all of that. Yeah. So then once that's all processed, I'm like, right, now I'm going to become the magnet for that. I'm going to become the magnet for what I want. Yeah. Because regardless if you like this or not, you are the magnet. Now, you get to choose whether you become the magnet for the shit that you don't want or the shit that you do want. Yeah. And I was like, I know I'm a magnet, so I need to be what I want to attract. So this is where it gets really, really good. And this is why once this had blown over, like went into my Limitless and actually trained on this with my ladies because it's super important. So it's like becoming the magnet for what you want to attract, especially when something goes wrong. Because when something goes wrong, the temptation is like focus on what you don't want. It's like the frustration comes in, the injustice, the fear of the outcome, the fear of the backlash, and like, what we focus on, we're going to attract more of. So it's not woo-woo, it is literally, it's true. It is just how energy works. So what I do, and what I did in this instance, is literally ask myself, what emotions do I want to attract from this situation? Because I can't control the externals, as I've already mentioned. I can be the energy that I want to attract. And when I embody those emotions authentically, I am going to magnetize them back to me. And for me in this situation, I didn't want frustration. I didn't want anger. I didn't want fear. I didn't want any nastiness, any bitterness. I just wanted positivity. I wanted abundance. I wanted friendliness. I wanted maturity. I wanted emotional maturity. I wanted kindness and professionalism, right? So here's the key word, authenticity. You cannot force this stuff. You can't just tell yourself to feel positive when your nervous system is not fucking positive. If you're in fight or flight and you're going, it's okay, calm down, that is not going to work. That is not how the body works. So what you have to do instead is you have to lean into what already exists in your world that holds those emotional attachments. So you tap into the things and the people and the places and the experiences in your life that already feel like those emotions. What brings you joy? Right? Then you ground your body, you move the energy through your body, you walk, you dance, you exercise, you actually physically move, and you be with the people who fill you up, and you flood your body with those feelings through the things that already carry those attachments to them, those emotions with them. And then from that place, that's when your inspiration is going to come. That is when the right action is going to come, not shitty, passive-aggressive action, not anything that doesn't serve you, nothing forced either. These actions are going to come from inspiration and they're going to be great, okay? And then what happens is when you start moving from that action, you're going to stop obsessing over when this will end, like when will this situation come to its resolve? How is it going to come to its resolve? What is the other person going to do? You detach from all of that and you let go of that forcing nature and you just trust the process. You've heard it before, trust the process. And that is what I did, and that is what I do. And among other things, you know, there's bits and there's bobs and there's lots, and this is so important. This is one of the key things that I did do and that I think is just I need to give you. So last step as well, by the way, I think this is super important for anybody listening. So you know me, if you've been in my world for a while, I've really focused on gratitude. Gratitude is like the biggest life hack in the whole wide world. So especially if something's not quite how you would like, gratitude is so key. And you can actually use gratitude as if something is already resolved and already done and already yours, for example. Even if you've got like a big goal of monetary value or whatever and you're like, oh, that's mine already. Having gratitude for the things that you want before they're already yours is number one way to make sure they do become yours. So this is how I finish the training with my clients this week as well, and it's how I really want to finish it with you now. So what I do when I've done everything else, I've processed, I've defined the outcome that I wanted, I've taken the responsibility, I've become the magnet, I do one final thing, and that is I look at the outcome that I want and I give gratitude for it as if it's already happened. Okay, so it's not surface level gratitude of like, oh, thank you for this, like one thing. No, it's not quick. It's not just a quick thank you, universe. I literally sit down, I close my eyes and I write things down. I open my eyes when I write, but then I close my eyes afterwards. And I write tens of things down that have come through because of this outcome, and I write thank you 3 times for each one. And I don't just think about the outcome happening, I think about how it feels when it happens, I think about the moment that it happens, and I let that feeling like move through my body, and I make sure that there is a physiological response, that I can actually feel it, like it gives me the feeling in my body, the tingles, the warmth, whatever it is. I don't just think about it in my brain, I feel it in my body. And I ask myself, like, when this outcome has happened, what is the first thing that I've done? Who is the first person that I've told? What does my face feel like in that moment? What does my body do? And that's where I go to, fully, literally, in my imagination, in my body, in every single cell of my body, okay? Because that is how you're going to become magnetic, not by like trying to force it and chase the outcome and like worry about things and be in a place of lack or scarcity or whatever, but by being the version of you that has received the thing that you're asking for. And that is the key stuff. That is everything. I know that's a lot, but that is the process, and that is exactly what I had to do. And I worked through all of it. And I just want to kind of end this episode with saying, like, I seriously do wish this person all the best. I genuinely thought that I was doing the most positive thing that I could by ending their sort of experience. I really, really, truly hope that they get to where they want to get to. And I know they will, because they're fucking great at what they do. Like I said, they're so good at what they do. So, yeah. I think that's it, really. It is a massive learning curve, loads of growth. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you next time.